In this video, I'm going to give you a simple way to know what order to do your workouts in so you can manage fatigue, recover better, and keep improving. Now, every workout creates both fitness and fatigue at the same time. Fatigue is a normal, temporary byproduct of training. So the goal isn't to avoid fatigue. The goal is to manage it well enough that you can keep training consistently and still make progress. So the question is, how do you decide what day to do your strength training, what day to do your cardio, and any other type of exercise you're doing, and how to arrange these workouts across the week? Instead of memorizing rules, it really helps to have a mental framework for how to think about your workouts. So you can start to intuit how much stress each one will create, and therefore you can anticipate how much recovery you will need. So to do that, we're going to classify workouts in 3 ways. How big the stress was, what part of the body took the most fatigue, and what type of stress the workout delivered. Was it more of a strength or a cardio stressor? Now, once you can get a sense for those 3 ways that workouts create stress, scheduling can become much easier to know how to do. Let's make this visible by visualizing the week and using circles to represent these different types of workouts. Big circles mean big stress, high stress. Medium circles mean moderate stress, and small circles mean low stress. So depending on the duration and the intensity of the workout, it's going to be put into one of these 3 categories. The second thing we'll look at is what part of the body took the biggest fatigue hit. Now, even though every workout uses the whole body, you bring your whole self to every workout, right? Some workouts stress the lower body more, some stress the upper body more, and some stress everything kind of evenly, right? So lower body strength training stresses the lower body more. Upper body strength training stresses the upper body more, and we can split up our training into lower and upper body splits. We might do whole body strength training, which again would be a whole body stressor. Now, running as a cardio mode really predominantly stresses the lower body, so does biking, but rowing and swimming might be more of an upper body stressor. So to show this, dark purple will signify lower body, light purple will signify upper body, and medium purple will signify whole body. And then the third type of thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at the training type. Was it more of a strength stimulus? Was it more of an aerobic, endurance, or cardio stimulus? Solid circles are going to represent more of a strength type stress. This is where we're predominantly targeting our muscles, joints, connective tissue, and nervous system with load. And so that's where the fatigue is going to be experienced. Hollow circles are more of an energy delivery system taxer, like a cardio endurance taxer. And so we're challenging the body's energy delivery systems, but we're also probably taxing the musculoskeletal system depending. So the total stress, the size of the stressor of a workout really depends on 2 main factors: the intensity of the workout and then also the duration of the workout. Intensity is how hard the workout felt. Duration is how long it lasted, and both matter. A workout can be moderate in intensity but very long, and this can create a big stressor and a lot of fatigue. For example, a long, easy pace run may not feel very hard at any given moment, but by the end, you will need more recovery. A workout can also be intense but short and create less total stress. For example, a short strength session with a few heavy sets might feel hard during the sets, but the overall fatigue cost might be more moderate because the session overall was short. So stress isn't just how hard something feels in the moment, it's how stressful the whole workout was by the end. So because all of this is a moving target and it's also all so subjective, it helps to have a tool to be able to score these workout stressors subjectively, and this is where we can use RPE. Now, I have a whole video on RPE, the most important number for strength training. Check it out. Typically when we use it for scoring sets of an exercise in strength training, but we can also use it to score an entire workout, whether it's cardio or strength. If the session felt like it was a big stress, it was hard, we would use an RPE of 7, 8, 9, or 10, 10 being maximally hard. If the workout felt like it was more of a moderate stress, somewhere in the middle, not maximal, not easy, we could give it a 5 or a 6. And then if the workout actually felt like it was a low stress, a small amount of stress, pretty easy, we could give it a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Now let's get into some gray areas. So, because some ways of working out are not so easy to classify. We've got a gray zone way of working out, which I like to call cardio with weights. Okay, this could include things like CrossFit, Orange Theory, HIIT workouts with weights, kettlebell circuits, workouts where you're lifting lighter weights continuously with little rest, so your heart rate is high. These usually come with a higher fatigue cost. We're going to talk about why. So in this model, we're generally going to consider these big circles. One reason that these are higher fatigue costs is that the heart rate stays elevated, there's resistance involved, and the movements are changing constantly. And additionally, a lot of times these workouts are always changing, so we're always kind of dealing with some level of novelty every time. Remember that novelty actually increases fatigue. Unlike, say, cyclical cardio, where we're doing the same movement over and over and over again, our body gets really efficient at doing that movement, and therefore we don't incur as much fatigue. Or strength training, where our heart rate isn't elevated the whole time and we're building in a lot of rest, we typically don't incur as much fatigue from strength training. Cardio with weights tends to live kind of in the middle, as being not quite as effective as building strength as traditional strength training, not quite as effective as building cardio as cyclical cardio is, but it's a very popular way of training. It's a very enjoyable way of training. Typically, these ways of training happen in a group fitness setting, so there's this big community feel involved with them. And so they're a completely viable way to increase your fitness, but they kind of live in this gray zone. We're going to treat them more as a strength type stimulus, only because there is going to probably be more fatigue at the local muscles that are worked in the session. And then also we're going to treat it as a whole body generally, although some, for example, CrossFit WODs will be a little bit more of an upper body stressor than a lower body stressor and vice versa, but generally we're going to treat them as a whole body stressor. And then another gray area is yoga, Pilates, and what I like to call more like mindful mobility type practices, which can skew toward the strength stressor end of the spectrum, depending, but tend to be of a more moderate to lower intensity stimulus. So generally speaking, we're going to treat these as smaller to medium-sized circles. They're going to be solid because they're going to be a little bit more of a strength type stimulus. These formats don't tend to get our heart rate up super high. We'll also treat them as whole body, although, some yoga classes definitely are bigger taxers of the upper body, specifically the upper body pushing muscles. Pilates might actually just center around the core. So it's really going to depend, but this is generally for this model. We're going to call them whole body, we're going to call them small to medium, and we're going to treat them more like a strength stimulus. Okay, now we're going to take a look at 3 different avatars to see how we might help these different exercisers arrange their week. The first person is a hybrid athlete who is really into running and lifting weights. The second person loves Orange Theory, but also wants to do some strength training and cardio throughout the week. And then we also have our yoga practitioner who does quite a bit of yoga during the week, but also gets their strength and cardio in as well.
We have our hybrid athlete who works out 6 days a week. They run 5 days a week, and they engage in 3 strength training sessions. Let's say this person prioritizes running. So we're going to schedule their hard runs first, and we'll put their long run on day 2 and their vigorous run on day 6 with plenty of recovery time in between those harder runs. Those are their hard effort runs with high RPE sessional scores. Then they also have 3 easy runs with a lower RPE sessional score. They do whole body strength training, upper body strength training, and lower body strength training splits. We can put their upper body strength training before their long run, since there's going to be very little interference in terms of the fatigue they accumulate during the upper body session and then the long run. We'll put the lower body session the day after the long run. This pushes all of the fatigue from a long run and a lower body session into a couple of days during the week, so that there's enough recovery then from that long run and lower body session before they do the vigorous run. Of course, there are easy runs in between the long run, the lower body session, and the vigorous run, but those easy runs are low sessional RPEs. They're shorter in duration, they're lower in intensity. So by the time this person gets around to their vigorous run, they should be pretty well recovered in the lower body to be able to run at a high sessional RPE. After their vigorous run, they'll do some whole body strength training the next day, and then again, another easy run on that next day. This person has 1 day off a week. They're training 6 days a week, but the training stresses are spread out to allow for some recovery to take place, and the recovery is strategized in such a way that they'll be able to run long, they'll be able to run fast, and perform at a level that will further drive their running fitness upward. Planning a training week is largely about trade-offs, so you might be wondering, well, isn't their lower body session and or even their whole body session going to suffer coming the day after a long run and a vigorous run? And the thing is that it might, but you'd be surprised that you can still continue to make gains in strength even on tired legs. Because running is their priority, we're going to make sure that the run happens when the person is most recovered, and the strength then can happen under some fatigue. They will still benefit from the strength training, but this strategy is very clearly prioritizing the running. Okay, next we have our individual who likes to do Orange Theory. Orange Theory is probably a high sessional RPE, whole body. We're going to put a day in between Orange Theory days. We could put more days in between Orange Theory days, but at least a day where this person is not engaging in a high sessional RPE format of exercise. Instead, there's an easy swim in between. This person is training 5 days a week, right? So there's 2 days off. It's a little easier to recover when we work out fewer days per week, but you'll see that they are actually engaging in 7 different workouts, right? 3 swims, 2 Orange Theories, and 2 whole body strength trainings. The reason they have 2 days off is because we've doubled up whole body strength training and cardio. In this case, whole body strength training on day 5 and day 7 is coming before the cardio. It could go the other way around, but we'll say in this case they're doing their whole body session first. They've got a day in between whole body sessions, a day in between the last Orange Theory and the first whole body session. Also notice that the whole body strength training sessions are medium-sized circles, so these are probably not very long sessions. There might be a compound lift or 2 in each one, lots of accessory lifts, lots of single joint exercises possibly, or just a shorter session overall, something, between 30 and 45 minutes. Putting an Orange Theory class in between those whole body sessions keeps the big circles away from each other, so there's not this huge spike in exercise stress. Let's say we wanted to throw a third Orange Theory in here. My vote for the third Orange Theory would be to put it between the whole body strength training sessions. Would they feel fatigued for their last whole body strength training session on day 7 with that third Orange Theory class thrown in there? Sure. But with enough of a buildup, eventually they would adapt to that workload. They're also going to experience possibly some fatigue on day 1, Orange Theory, from the day 7 whole body strength training. So again, we don't need to be fully recovered to benefit. Performance might suffer slightly, but as long as you aren't vastly overwhelming yourself, it's better to have exercised under fatigue than to have not. It's really just a matter of being able to recover enough for there to be some productivity to that session. And then finally, we have our yoga practitioner who is somebody who exercises 6 days a week. They do 4 days of yoga. 2 are more vigorous vinyasa classes, which are medium-sized circles. So that's a sessional RPE probably of between 5 and 7. Then we have this person also doing gentle yoga, which is a low sessional RPE, quite low probably. Then we've got whole body strength training 3 days a week. These are longer sessions, maybe a couple compounds, probably going to be more fatigued after these sessions. They also are a biker. So there's 2 short bike rides and a long bike ride. So let's look at one possible solution here. So first of all, we're going to break up the big circles. We kind of start with the big circles. And we're going to put some days in between the whole body strength training sessions. And then there's one long bike ride as well. So we'll put that long bike ride on day 1, whole body strength training on day 2, 4, and 6. Is the whole body strength training on day 2 possibly going to suffer slightly from the long bike ride the day before? Yes. But only the lower body exercises will possibly suffer slightly, especially maybe the quadricep exercises. But in all likelihood, on day 4 and day 6, there's going to be more quadricep exercises where the quads will be quite fresh. So you're just never going to get perfectly recovered when you exercise a lot. And that, again, is okay because The benefits of exercising more are greater than the benefits of exercising less. But with that more is going to come some fatigue. And that fatigue will probably be slightly interfering with your performance in multiple different workouts. The key is that it doesn't interfere a lot and it doesn't interfere so much to make the session unproductive. Okay, now this person is a yoga practitioner. The gentle yoga, because it's such a low sessional RPE, we can put it anywhere. So we have it after the long bike ride, which I think gentle yoga would feel really nice after a long bike ride. And then we have it after the last whole body session of the week. They also like to do vinyasa yoga. So we're going to slip the vinyasa yoga in between the whole body sessions. It's possible that fatigue from the whole body session will interfere with the vinyasa, right? Maybe my chaturangas are going to feel a little harder because I worked my upper body in the whole body session. Maybe the vinyasa will interfere slightly with the whole body session, right? So on day 3, when I do a lot of standing poses and then I go to do my lower body strength training on day 4, I might feel that yoga class from the day prior. That's okay. But notice how we aren't doing back-to-back whole body strength training sessions. Also notice how we're not doing a long bike ride on the same day that we're doing a whole body strength training session. And we're also not doing a hard vinyasa class on the same day that we're doing a whole body session. Not that we couldn't, you certainly could, but I might get more out of everything if I don't, right? The short bike rides can kind of slot in anywhere, similar to the gentle yoga. And that's why shorter, easier sessions are sometimes really valuable, because oftentimes we can slot them in anywhere. And by doing so, we accumulate more exercise over the course of the week without draining ourselves too much in any given one of those lower sessional RPE work bouts.
So hopefully that exercise helped you be able to visualize how you might arrange someone's weekly schedule to promote recovery from workouts that deliver a bigger stress and have a higher fatigue cost for the body. If you don't work out as many days per week, solving the puzzle of where to put your workouts gets a lot easier. So if you can solve the harder puzzles for somebody who works out many days per week, you should have no problem solving the puzzle for somebody who does not work out as frequently. There is no perfect schedule. This was one of many possible ways you could arrange the schedule. A lot of getting better at managing training stress is simply trial and error. So put together a microcycle a week, test it out, see how you feel, and then make changes based on that. This is probably the best and really truly only way to find the right balance for your training stress during the week. Like all forms of navigating exercise, there are no black and white rules. There are simply good working mental models to use and principles to abide by. Hopefully organizing your workouts into size of the stress, area of the body stressed, and training type helps you develop an intuition for where to put workouts in the week, how to build in recovery, and how to continue to make progress, maybe even in multiple different areas at the same time. For much more about fatigue, why you shouldn't fear it, and why you shouldn't chase it, check out my most recent podcast episode on this topic on the Practical Fitness podcast, where we get into some of the science around fatigue and recovery and how you might shift your thinking around fatigue to plan more effective training throughout the week and to better interpret how fitness occurs.